I think Obi-Wan Kenobi could be a defining piece in the Star Wars legacy, but it's not without its flaws. Hey, I'm Dinas, and this time I'll bring you a turbo review of the Star Wars Disney Plus series that just came out. I started writing this when I saw the first 2 episodes, and my opinion was harsh. But episode 3 changed my mind quite a bit, and I'll tell you why. Let's get right into it. Okay, so this is obviously stupid. And this? And the end of episode 3 promised us more of that.
I'll take you from here.
And also, what is this?
You think being like him will make people frightened of you, but really, you're the one who's scared. You've never made one decision for yourself in your entire life, and you never will.
Okay, I know they reflect on it, but that's not an excuse. This is borderline unnatural sounding even from an adult, okay? Let alone a 10-year-old kid. But I'll slow down, because Leia is not the problem with this show. And people who claim it is, I think got it wrong. This also goes for the third sister, Reva. She's not the problem here. Do they both have obvious weak moments? Sure they do. But this is not going to be one of those reviews where all-knowing big media critic tells you about all these obvious weak moments. I personally think they don't necessarily make a show bad. My favorite films and shows are full of these stupid and weird moments. Hell, even the original 6 films have it.
I don't like sand.
No, here's the thing though. I will not tell you why this show is not good, because first of all, it's fine. And this makes my job hard because it's much easier to praise or revile something. But let me suggest something that has been bothering me in all Disney productions, not just this show and not just their Star Wars movies. Obi-Wan Kenobi is incredibly unsurprising, and worse than that, it's artificial to an extreme degree. Let me explain what I mean. Obi-Wan Kenobi is my #1 undisputed favorite character in the Star Wars cinematic universe. He's a moral compass, a great person, an idol to young generations, funny, charming, responsible, caring, and just
sexy.
I'm a sucker for villains, and I was a huge fan of Darth Vader when I was a kid. But Ewan's portrayal of Obi-Wan won me over, which I thought was impossible. So were my expectations high to see a TV show focused on this character, with a Ewan McGregor that is just the right age for the role, with probably years and years of marination of the character in his head, with him being the executive producer? Yes, they were very high. But then I remembered how Disney treated one of my favorite franchises, and I managed those expectations. And look, I'm not one of those people who only like the original trilogy. I really enjoyed the prequels, maybe Clones less so, and Rogue One is probably my second favorite Star Wars after Empire Strikes Back. But ever since Disney took over, I noticed the trend of artificiality, and I want to talk about it, because I know the originals weren't perfect. They were in fact flawed, goofy, and sometimes even downright bad. But they were full of passion and inspiration, and the creative decisions were made with what feels like artistic goals in mind, while also obviously trying to manufacture a metric fuck ton of merch. But now, I feel like every decision is made in this marketing room where they have the same whiteboard that they use for their soda ad campaigns. It's incredibly efficient, exciting, beautiful, and utterly boring, predictable, and the same every single time. And this goes for The Mandalorian too. With the first few episodes, I was convinced that I'm falling in love with the franchise again. Western Star Wars with huge implications for the main saga, and looking at the background of defining moments we all saw 100 times. Little points of connection, expanding our understanding of the world. This excited me, and then I realized that the connections are fan service, the Western is nothing but a few cliches, the story is not willing to lead to exciting conclusions, they only resolve the inner conflict of the 40-minute episode they are contained in. Characters that promise exciting events are just used to exploit the extremely overused and calculated dynamic that Disney just takes off their film techniques shelf without it even having time to collect dust on there. Every product they put out is grown in a laboratory where products always fit the same damn packaging, they weigh the same amount of grams and have the exact same color and smell. Artificial. And look, there is nothing wrong with formulas. I'm all for iterative filmmaking. Look at the best show on television right now, Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul's DNA carries every single bit of Breaking Bad in it. The dynamics, the character arcs, the setting, camera techniques, everything resembles Breaking Bad to a frightening degree. And yet, there is no moment of Better Call Saul where I know where things are headed, where character arcs feel predetermined and dynamics feel forced and unnatural. Of course, if you hated Breaking Bad, you will probably not like this either, as it works with some of the same elements. But it is so fresh and basically the antithesis of milking an IP. Everything is there for a reason and happens for a reason. Just like the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, which in my mind is the only thing comparable to Better Call Saul in terms of character-driven storytelling. Because it feels like our protagonists are real people and they do what they want to, not what the script tells them. In comparison, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, a show that is written around these epic moments, and you can just smell the stench of that lazy writing. It's the opposite of a character-driven drama like the aforementioned shows. I can't shake the feeling that Disney sat down in pre-production and said the following words. Okay, so we need a fun dynamic between Obi-Wan and something cute like a droid, so we give the fans something to obsess over, just like Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian. Actually, let's make that Leia. We need her in the show anyways, and she's small, cute, and helpless in the same way. Also, let's give them this Inquisitor type of character, just like the one with the black blade from The Mandalorian. That'll be the villain that will always be just one step behind our heroes, so at the end of every episode, they shake their fists at the fleeing duo as they barely escape. And let's have at least one chase scene every episode, that is fun. Also, let's make sure we put some intergalactic politics in, but not enough for it to be actually interesting, just like in The Mandalorian. Guys, wasn't The Mandalorian just great? It made so much money. And my problem is not with tropes, guys. I don't mind a good old classic villain and a rescue mission, but stop making dumb scenes like this. Just use the Force to push crates. Be actually intimidating instead of talking. Be ruthless, brutal if you want to rise in the ranks. Like, what is the point of all this super intimidating jumping around when at the end she's literally just too late? It takes so much of the perceived power away from her. This is ultimately my problem with the character. We are led to believe that she would probably be the best Jedi hunter if these pricks let her do her job. And then, when she breaks the rules, she's not effective. In episode 3, she's unleashed a bit just to be restrained again, and this paints a character arc to me that is very predictable for Reva. Skip here if you don't want to hear my theory, which will be 100% correct. She's going to be held back while she's very evil, and just as she's getting the opportunity to act on her hunger for power and become Chief Inquisitor or whatever it's called, she will realize that the rebellion is right, and she will use that position of power to help our heroes just to be struck down by Vader, just as the audience grew to like her at the end of her redemption arc. That or a self-sacrifice. So what about Vader? One of the greatest villains put on the screen, a literal space Nazi, someone who can shatter lives with a snap of his finger. Well, I'm not sure. All scenes with him feel epic, but only because we know he is. But when he actually is in action, he's underwhelming for me. I get that he doesn't want to just kill Obi-Wan, he wants to make him suffer, but everything is just way too convenient. The most powerful person in Star Wars can't take someone prisoner? Someone who he wanted to capture for a decade because of some random rebel shooting a fuel tank? And a random 400 kilo droid dragging him out of danger. When Vader is on screen, he should own everything and everyone there. I think if you're afraid of this power creep situation, just don't put the most dangerous man in the galaxy in the same room with our protagonist. That's why you have Reva. And we get yet another fucking excuse for no epic lightsaber duel.
The years have made you weak.
After what? 5 movies? 3 series? Ever since Revenge of the Sith, we cannot get a fucking epic lightsaber duel. A fast one, like this. We saw a bit of good stuff in episode 1 against blasters, but give me a break. Make it happen. If you can force all these moments I was talking about in the beginning, I'm sure you can force a lightsaber duel that is impressive and cool. We've been thirsty for that for decades. Leia. Okay, I won't spend a lot of time on this. Is she annoying a bit? Sure. Is she cute though? I have to say so. I think it mostly balances out. She's very smart and likable for the most part, and you can't blame kids for being all trouble. I'm fine with it. I just really think they need to establish trust between her and Obi-Wan fast, so we don't get the same old problem every episode. I did like the twist with Obi-Wan messing up though. On the other hand, here's what I think are some of the bigger issues. The problem of information being this very weird thing in this series. Everybody kind of knows everything. People randomly know that Anakin is Vader, people randomly know Obi-Wan is on Tatooine, is friends with Bail Organa, and they have a direct line of communication which will lure him out of hiding because the Organa princess is important for Obi-Wan for some reason that nobody has any business knowing. But if they do know, why isn't Vader tearing up Tatooine, at which point he would probably discover his son is there? Why isn't he wondering why Obi-Wan is there? Why is he not looking into Bail Organa, who he knows is friends with Obi-Wan, at which point he would probably discover his daughter is there on Alderaan. And I don't think it's childish to have these questions raised. And you can claim people take Star Wars too seriously, but we love Star Wars and we love good stories, so we want this to happen. I don't even think retconning is this blasphemy that people make it out to be. George Lucas did it himself, and with something as huge as Star Wars, you can't plug in all the little holes that are leaking. Do the best job you can, sure, but let's not let minute details get in the way of a good story, I say. As long as it is somewhat plausible, let's just be a hint more forgiving, guys. But hey, sometimes it is nonsensical, and sometimes it does take away from the legacy of Star Wars. But all of the questions can still be resolved. The show is not over yet, and I refuse to be pessimistic about it until we see if they are addressing these concerns or not. I'm optimistic. And with that, I want to talk a bit about the positives. The positives are almost all in episode 3, maybe except for the beginning of episode 1, which was pretty nice. Episode 3 really brought the story to another level. Suddenly we saw how the new Empire works, what the people think about it, how the ranks are, what Vader's position is. We also saw how the rebellion starts as people realize that the Empire's promises are not exactly as marvelous as they sound. This is already more nuanced than the original trilogy ever handled these things with. While I think the Obi-Wan and Vader encounter was terribly unearned and anticlimactic, the acting was on point, and it showed great promise for more dramatic material. On that note, I generally love the acting. I think Leia's acting is very good for the usual total miss that kid characters are. Reva has promise. I just hope we get more characterization because her character is incredibly two-dimensional right now. We need some of that backstory. And even small roles like Owen Lars, Leia's parents, and Tia were really well acted. And obviously Obi-Wan is giving us the whole broken heart, failed master kind of thing so well. I think he brings exactly what we were expecting to the table, and as the titular character, that is immensely important. The music's pretty good, the sets look amazing, and they have one of the best villains in movie history in store. They have so much to work with. But how can they make this show better in my eyes after 3 episodes? I guess what's bothering me is the absolute refusal to take risks. Fan service is not enough. Nostalgia is not enough. But I will reserve judgment and consider this a bumpy start with potential for growth. And just so we're totally clear, the potential is not with cute Leia moments. The potential is here, and it is here, and it is here. And it's also definitely not here. And here's an extra wish list, none of which will be used, but one can hope. The intergalactic politics of this era is interesting, show that. The Jedi's persecution is interesting, show that. Ben protecting Luke from dangers he never knew of while also remaining undercover is interesting and deepens our appreciation for this moment, show that. Even though I'm pretty sure the last 3 episodes will be Leia based. So as long as they do some of this or just explore some of the aforementioned characters, I will be happy. But what would make you guys happy? What did you like or dislike about the show? I'm eager to hear your opinions in the comments section. If you think I'm on point or I'm totally off mark, you can tell me there. I think I came off mostly a bit too negative, but I promise you, it's all out of my love for the stories of my childhood. And I really want to like Kenobi. Because as critical as I was, and as brokenhearted I am about the Disney era of Star Wars, for me, it is New Hope. Ciao. Huge shout out to the people who support me on Patreon by any amount, and especially the people on screen. Extra shout out to Marvin Gamma for being in the behind the scenes tier, which will allow them to watch developer commentaries of these videos that I'll put out a bit after release. Thank you again.